Hello everybody and welcome to Open Studio Hours. Welcome to Jerry's studio. My name is Emmy Kline. I am the resident artist here at Jerry's, and I had been here for the last one painting on this portrait of this lovely lady. And please excuse the fact that I actually just got paint on her cheek and wiped it off, and now there's a splotch there, but I'm going to attempt to finish this up today. But this is as far as I had gotten with our last Open Studio Hour, so I'm going to actually get my chat here going so you guys can actually talk to me. And if you guys have any questions about what I'm doing or anything art related, it doesn't have to necessarily have to do with the acrylics that I'm using or what I'm painting. It could be about oils, colored pencil, anything. So let me get this started. There we go. Make sure my volume is down. Is that the right button? I think so. Yeah, we are good. And adjust it to all. There we go. Awesome. Yay! Hello, Brazen Spirituality. Hello. Alright, so I'm going to get started on this now just to give you guys kind of a recap of what I'm doing. This was the sketch that I had done for transferring images, Jerry's Live. I can't remember exactly which one that was, but this was the image that I had been transferring from surface to surface. So I'm so glad you got to catch this too. I'm glad you're here. But yeah, so I had transferred this image like 6 different times, but I never actually got to paint it, so I wanted to finish actually painting it. And then I am using a combination of the acrylics that we had already in the Soho acrylic line, but we also just came out with 18 brand new colors, so I have them all here on my table, which includes a lot of like really fun fluorescent colors, so I'm hoping to actually incorporate these today, especially in like the flowers and everything around her hair. But what I have on my palette here so far is burnt umber, this is raw umber, this is that quinacridone magenta. This is the new turquoise. Then I have the titanium white. And then these 2 colors are also new. This is the light portrait pink. And then I believe this is the Naples yellow. Yes, Naples yellow hue. So I'm very excited. Why did you choose to start with yellow as a background? It's lime green, I believe is the color. Oh, wait, no. Did we use green gold or lime? No, we use green gold. Yeah, I was thinking this was lime green. I was like, that's a little too yellow. We use the green gold. So when you actually have, that's what I love about that color, is that when it's real thick, it gets this like really nice like green, almost like an olivey green color to it. But when you do it in very thin glazes, which I'm actually going to be using the satin glazing liquid to thin this down. But when you do that, then you also get a really nice kind of a yellowy tint to it, which is really fun. So that's why the color that I started off with. Now the reason why I chose to start off with this color is specifically because Katie chose it. There was no rhyme or reason. I've started off with magenta before. I've started off with crazy green. I've done red. I've done black. I've done the pure white canvas. I like to take the white of my canvas down and kind of tint it with a color. And this just happened to be the color that we grabbed. The reason why is because on my reference photo, which I believe this comes from unsplash.com. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. But this, she has some really lovely like rosy tints. Sorry, I'm trying to get that glare down. She's got some really lovely like rosy tints and everything to her cheek. So I thought that juxtaposition of that green gold kind of shimmering through with those rosy colors would look really good. I love to use the opposite on the color wheel, which is really fun. Ah, Paulo, you're here. Welcome back. All right, so the one thing I did forget, because I have like lost my mind today apparently, is water. So, Katie, can you get me a thing of water? Yes. I forgot water.
You almost grabbed that last time too.
I know. I was running around going, oh, I don't have my iPad so I could check your comments, and I've lost my mind today.
Is it okay?
Is it full of water?
No, but I
Oh,
filled up.
yes.
Is that okay if I get you?
Yeah, that's fine. That was what I was using earlier, and I emptied it so that I could have it for here, and then I forgot it. So I am going to be using, to thin down my acrylics though, I am going to be using the satin glazing liquid because I do not use water to thin them down very much, if at all. The reason why is because I like to keep that acrylic bond with my paints very, very strong. So let me get started before I run out of time. So I'm going to actually put, let's put it over here. There's my glazing liquid. You're always here. Well, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. Every time. Alright, so this is kind of the joy and problem of going back to a painting. This is why normally I just knock out a whole painting without having to go back to it. Is because I had a game plan in my head when I was originally painting it. Thank you, you're the best. Katie is the best, guys. But yeah, so after I left this bee, I, have forgotten about it and kind of purged it out of my brain and my memory, and now that I'm coming back to it, I have to get that game plan back in my head, and I'm just gotta remember what I was doing. So alright, so this is the raw umber and a little bit of titanium white and that glazing medium, so it kind of thins it down just a little bit. I really like it for like areas like here. So I'm just going to continue to mix colors and place it where I kind of see it. Because like I had said last time, I'm a very reactionary painter. And actually, that was a bit of a big blob. So this is another thing I do, by the way. If I am painting, I usually have a brush that's way too big for the area that I'm painting, just because I try to get a larger brush than I need to. It keeps me from noodling and kind of getting really fine details into all the things, all the features of her face that I'm not ready for with this painting. But if I have just a dry brush and, nothing on it, I can kind of feather out those edges if I need to and kind of blend it out a little bit more. But it also helps me to pick up a chunk of paint if I lay down a little too much. But it's got this lovely, like, red tint to it. But I have to kind of work on these transitions. So I'm not technically blending anything, I'm just laying down chunks of color. But once you lay down enough chunks of color and kind of get those, the color harmony, where it kind of works together, it looks like it's kind of blended, but it's really not, which is really fun. I do need a lighter. Ah, MJ Pete, you're here. Nice to see you on here. Alright, so let me lighten this value up a little bit and start getting into those lighter tones of like where the reflections in her skin are. So I'm working on a combination of value and color temperature. So because I am a reactionary painter, if I lay it down, it might be the wrong temperature but might be the right value, so I can lay it down but then slightly adjust it later on with like either a glaze or another like kind of chunk of color. But I never really like scrub anything off, I just kind of let it be. Even if it's wrong, it's okay. It's all about exploring the facets of her face, which is really cool. Right here in her lips, which is hard for you guys to see because it's so tiny. Right here in her lips, that little highlight. I know there is a little section of like pure white in there, but I'm going to actually keep it the same tone as her, like the highlights in her cheek, which are not pure white. So I'm going to actually lay that down right now before I forget, since I have the color on my brush.
I'm really glad that you went with the green gold instead of the pink. I think it like is a little edgier.
Yeah, it's a little funkier, you know? And what's funny is that I've done this before, and it always makes her look like she's a little sick until I paint in her eyes. She's got a little bit of jaundice going on, you know?
It does look a little bit like a zombie right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll fix it. Alright, so she's got a little bit of light kind of coming down over the bridge of her nose and kind of going down that little section right here. So I want to kind of connect those. There we go. But that's a little too on the almost like purple pink side, so I need to get a little bit of this Naples yellow in to kind of warm it up. So again, remember, if you guys do have any questions, it does not have to be about what I am painting, but you guys are more than welcome to ask me anything while I'm here. Or you can just sit there and watch me paint. That's also an option. I am very happy to be able to sit here and paint. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm using a huge, this is a 1/2 inch 1-stroke Bestie brush. Which, by the way, the brushes I'm using, they're all Bestie, which is like a golden Taklon, so they're very universal. Nice soft bristle, which is great. Actually, I just tipped into water. I did not want water. I wanted the glazing liquid. So even though I'm using this huge 1/2 inch brush, if I pull my paint down like this, not only am I kind of keeping my bristles nice on my brush to where this is going to last me a very long time, because I'm pulling them in the manner of which they're supposed to go. But if I do this, because it is a flat brush, and I get that really sharp kind of, let me see if I can get a makeup moment here. You see how sharp that I got that compared to like this direction, you know? I can actually get very fine lines when I do that on my brushes. So right here on the underside of her eye, I can actually just drag just the corner of that brush and give me just a nice little, almost like a line, which most of the time you'd think you'd need a brush like this, but I use the big one. Just by turning my brush and be able to, oh, please remind us of the brush. Yes, I did. MJ Pete, you're on it. I love it. I always appreciate those reminders though, because half the time I forget to tell you what I'm doing or the materials I'm using. You'd think I'd be used to that by now. Was that a sneeze?
Yes.
All right, so for those of you who might have heard that, that was the most adorable sneeze ever. It was a sneeze.
Sorry, I'm a sneezy person.
It's okay. Sometimes it gets dusty in here. It happens.
It's the light.
It is. But it was cute.
I was trying to do it quietly, but it snuck out.
Sometimes they just like, they pop out and you just didn't know that they were coming, you know? It happens. All right, so I know I'm focused really on her face, but I really need to, as I'm ignoring what I'm literally just thinking right now, I really need to get down to her neck and kind of the bottom part of her chest here. Now on the photo reference, let me make sure I can show you guys this. And I'm going to kind of tilt it at an angle so you guys can see, because if I do this, there's a wicked glare on the paper. It's just a little shiny. But on the photo reference, you can see, and this must be some kind of either photo manipulation or they had some kind of like a fog machine going when they took this photo. But there's a huge, kind of almost like cloudy section there that I don't particularly, like I don't want to paint that. Like it's not something that I'm looking for on this painting, because if I were to try to paint that, it would probably look just bizarre. If I were to approach that, I'd probably paint everything like I'm getting ready to do and just paint her skin tone in a normal kind of realistic fashion. But then I'd go over and do like a glaze of that like white, kind of titanium white, maybe with the unbleached titanium, which is so it's not like a stark white, just to give me kind of a, almost like a cloudy kind of effect, and then maybe scrub most of it off. But I would do that at the very end. Otherwise, if I were to just leave it on her skin and not on the background, you would probably not understand what was going on in the photo and be very confused. So I'm going to, and I'm going to also paint over the flowers as well, kind of, especially these ones that have really fine little detail. I hope you guys can see that, yeah. So like there's a lot of little tiny petals in here, and even though I'm painting in over top of it, I'm painting in really light glazes, so I can still see through it and see my drawing, but I want to get that skin tone in there where the light's kind of hitting it and making it a little bit lighter. But I'm going to paint through the flowers just so I don't have to try and paint around anything, because that's a pain. Now also the satin glazing liquid that I am using as my medium does slow down the dry time as well. So it gives me a lot of work time as far as this paint is concerned, which is really nice. Alright. I'm going to kind of bring this color back in over here. Variations in her skin tone. It gets kind of darker going down. But then I can also paint the flowers on top afterwards, which is going to be much easier to do than trying to paint all around those tiny little flower petals. I guess I'm not entirely sure if that was supposed to be skin tone down there, but it is now. I wasn't really paying attention to that when I was drawing it. But again, if I end up painting over all over the whole section of skin that I just painted down there, then it's not a big deal, as opposed to like if you don't paint that in. That's going to be a pain. Alright, so I just grabbed a little bit of turquoise and it tinted this down to a lovely, really desaturated kind of green, because this is the, I have on my brush that was the burnt umber and the new color, the turquoise. It's really pretty. I like that for my shadow colors. Those are fun. Although, I think I need a little less medium in here because it is getting a little thin. I need a little bit more paint. Opacity. That's what I need. Opacity. I'm going to get a little bit of that raw umber too. Filberts. I actually kind of... So MJ Pete's asking that I'm using the flat style brush, but I like Filberts for portraits. Filberts my favorite brush in the whole wide world. I love Filberts. I just happen to grab a flat brush because I also love flat brushes. I kind of go back and forth between them. It's not specifically that I want one over the other for portraiture. It's more that I just happen to grab this one. But I do like them both. I like them, I don't want to say equally because I like the Filbert way more. But I always try to like make sure that I vary it up just so I work on my use of brush strokes with different types of brushes, because you can get a very different feel to a painting depending on what type of brush you use. And it's just something that I've always just kind of grabbed whatever was near me. And currently it happened to be a flat brush. I hope that answers that, because it's really a non-answer. I'm sorry. I also blame it on the day job. I tend to use whatever is within my reach. Alright, so I really like this, it's kind of a combination of the burnt umber, burnt umber, raw umber, and the turquoise. That raw umber kind of gave it a little bit more of a warm tone, so it's kind of almost warming up that turquoise, which is kind of, it's canceling it out, making it more of like a neutral tone. But I do like what it did with the colors. And I like this shadow color, because with the turquoise and the burnt umber, it was a little too green for my taste. So that raw umber kind of warmed it up with just a touch, just a little bit.
I feel like I might have accidentally made you not see Brazen Spirituality's question.
Did I not see? Oh.
Because I was posting links.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. I glazed over that. Whoops. Let me go back to that question. Hold on. All right. Okay, you made me. Oh, no. How do you like them compared to Sable Brushes? Okay. So, I really love Sable Brushes. Sable Brushes are just so incredibly soft. They're very resilient as far as being able to use them for a very long time. As far as the lifetime of your brushes, they're just fantastic. These are the ones that I end up using a lot more often, just because I could, if I wanted to, beat this brush up, and it actually will. It's very resilient as compared to a real sable brush, because the natural hair just, it doesn't bounce back when you, like, if I were to scrub this and get really mean to this brush, this might have a little bit of a possibility of coming back from that, whereas like a natural sable brush just will not do that. So I tend to use the Golden Taklon because it is a synthetic brush, and I can really, especially when I'm experimenting, it's nice to be able to have that as an option, because I'm just not sure what I'm going to end up doing to my poor brush. But I do love a sable brush. A sable brush is, there's something just really special about the way it feels in your hand. So it's not an acrylic versus oil preference, no. I tend to use a variety of brushes no matter what I'm doing, whether it's watercolor, acrylic, or oils. I sometimes will use a round, sometimes I will use an angular brush, sometimes I use a filbert, sometimes a flat. It honestly, I like to not stick to one type of brush, like as far as the shape, just because you really can achieve so much with just a variety of brush shapes. So to be able to practice your brush marking, I guess mark making with different types of brushes, I think is just so important. You know, it might not be your favorite brush, like mine is a filbert, but it really can help you as far as like figuring out ways to achieve different things in your artwork, you know? Alright, now get to this section of her mouth before I forget what I'm doing. I'm going to use that same kind of color in her eyes, because right here, most of her one eye here is in shadow. It's real dark. I'll make sure I'm not missing any questions. Ethically do not buy animal hair brushes. Yeah, I can see that. It's hard to not buy an animal hair brush, just because sometimes they are just the best brush possible. They just work so incredibly well. But there are so many synthetic options out there that do so well that you really can, if that's something that's really important to you, you can have a lot of options as far as animal friendly, not non-animal friendly, as far as an animal friendly brush. Like we have the Mimic Kolinsky Sable, which is not an actual Kolinsky Sable, but it's a mimic version of it, so it actually mimics the way that it functions. And then we also have the Mimic Squirrel, which I really love. Those are really fun. But again, they are animal friendly, and if that is something that is very important to you, there are a lot of options, which is really fun to see. Not to mention that, like, if an animal is endangered. You're welcome for bringing the question up. Thank you for Amanda for catching that, because I did not see that I had missed that. Alright. I am going to, again, I'm like using just the corner of this brush to drag in kind of almost like a line. I'm not too worried if it's a little thick or if it's a little wonky, because I am still not done with this section of her face, like her eyes. I do need to change kind of the just tones of her eyelid and everything, so I'm not too worried about it. I can adjust it that way. Although I do need to work on that eyebrow, which I think take a little bit of titanium white in here. Whoa, it's like a lovely gray turquoise, which is fantastic for her eyebrow. Isn't that great? Right there.
Oh, it's perfect.
Right? It's amazing how the colors that you just were like, that's not supposed to be a grayed out turquoise for her eyebrow.
But
It works so well. It makes it look like the light is hitting it, but it still appears like her eyebrow, you know? I love color. Color is just such an incredible thing. And you can only get to the stage by doing it. The experiments and kind of ways of figuring out what works and what really does not. It's just experimentation. You know, and I'm going to take that same color and I am going to pop it throughout the actual artwork here, so it reads as it's not just in one spot, it's in multiple areas. So like right here in the corner of her nose, I can kind of see a little bit of it. A little bit of a shadow, you know. No question left behind. Yes, I love it. Alright. Actually, I take that and warm it up just a little bit and lighten that value, because I started doing that on her lip, or putting that onto her lip. It's a little dark in value, but like right here I can see some green tones in her skin, just around like the edge of her mouth, and like it also might go up on the side of her face that's starting to go, sorry, let me not angle it that bad, right here on the side of her face, maybe even a bit on her forehead, but I could definitely see some of those green tones, so I might need to bring that green gold back in, but this, no, that's too light. I'm gonna actually, I never do this, but I'm gonna actually like wiggle that out with my finger. I need the green gold, that's what I need.
What do you do?
It's the wrong color, that's okay. I just need a little bit of that green kind of tint back to it, you know? Again, it's all about figuring out what's going to work. So, this is green gold, and like whatever else I had just kind of on my palette here. Green gold and the raw umber, mostly the two colors that I'm mixing together right now, to give me kind of a funky kind of brown. So this is going to be kind of weird looking until I finish what I'm doing here. It's okay. Looks like I gave her a mustache. It's okay. I'll make it look like skin tone in a minute. Sometimes it happens. It's alright. But by repeating that color throughout this side of her face, it's going to make it look like it's intentional and skin. Maybe a little down here. Yeah, I love color, says the artist. I know, it's a crazy statement, isn't it? Love graphite pencil drawing, black and white photography in grade school. That's awesome. I don't know what grade school he went to, but I want to go there. What was your first love? I don't blame you. Photography is wonderful. Before that, it's painting kits and colored with pencil. Yeah. I think, you guys want to know what I actually think I started off with? Fingernail polish. I was painting with fingernail polish because that's what I had. My dad had on just whatever surfaces I could find. I think that's actually what I started off with because my dad had his art kit that I wasn't really allowed to touch because that was his art kit, you know, and they weren't aware that I was really into art at the time. And I mean, like, this is when I was little, so don't blame them, you know. I wouldn't want my kids getting into my art kit either. But my dad was always really into, like, drawing and pencil, graphite, a little bit of charcoal, that kind of thing. That was his jam. But then I just kind of wanted to paint pictures, and I mean, it was just one of those things where I think the paint that I had available to me was fingernail polish, and I put it on paper. And fun fact, I still had put fingernail polish in my sketchbook when I was in college, so I still do it to this day. That's not a great habit to get into, but it was my sketchbook. It was just a little experimentation. It's fine, but yeah. It was in the 70s when they gave school money. Listen, I am so excited that schools are starting to realize again how important the arts are for mental health. It's fantastic. I'm hoping it's gonna make a comeback, but we'll see. School funding. That's a whole topic in and of itself. All I can say is bless our teachers, because, oof, if it wasn't for them. Alright, I need to get down to this neck. I, again, forgot about it. I'm gonna warm this back up. Give her some skin tone. I'm gonna still keep it in the darker kind of range, just because her neck should be a lot darker than her complexion up above. And actually, you know what? I haven't used this quinacridone magenta, so let's warm it up a little bit, but because I have so much of that purple kind of color in that section of the shadow, it still reads, even though it's still a very dark skin tone, it reads as that's the shadow. Although I still need to lighten this up a bit, which is okay. Look at there. Nail art. Nail art is a totally different thing. That fascinates me as well. I don't have the patience to paint my nails, let alone other people's. Mine are usually pretty awful. Metric. I can't say that on the air, but I do appreciate that term. Gel nail polishes, small and silver brushes, gem stamps, tape, and such sheets. Oh, so you like freehand your nails. That's impressive. That's not easy to do, you know. Katie always has the fanciest nails. She just got hers done. They're Christmassy.
I have a real problem when it comes to nail polish. Like, you just don't use it.
I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm actually painting over a leaf. I don't need to paint that part. Haha. Alright, so I do want to lighten this up, but keep it kind of on the brighter side. That's not. It's too purple. Again, this might be a totally wrong color, but that's okay. I can fix it later. That's the beauty of acrylics, is that you can just paint on top of it. Like, it's not a big deal if you get it wrong. So, color your own. Oh, you do your mom's. That's amazing. I love that. Alright. So this acrylic up here is still wet because of that glazing medium. Definitely does take quite a long time to cure, you know? So I can actually still work into it. But again, I'm not really trying to blend so much. I'm just trying to like adjust the color. Which I'm not really loving that, but at least she has some skin tone on her neck. That's okay. Again, I can fix it. And as Katie says, you gotta work through the ugly stage. Currently, I'd call this the ugly stage. Alright, let me get a different brush in here. I do have that filbert that I need to clean because I had some paint on there. Gonna be nice to my brushes. Alright. Let's see what happens when I take that quinacridone magenta and that Naples yellow. Ooh. That's a lovely kind of orangey pink. I think I need a little bit more of that magenta though. Alright. Take this crazy pink that I just made. I guess peach? Salmon? It's like a really funky, kind of tilt that so you guys can see. Oh, actually, let me just take this right here and put that underneath. It's going to be very awkward for me to do this, but at least you guys can see my palette now without the glare.
Well, that corally pinky is ooh.
Right? I'm going to use that in her cheeks. I love it. Alright.
The top 3 little brown blobs look like a little smiley face.
Where? Oh, up
Now
here.
it's really cute.
Now they have eyebrows.
Now it's a
Listen,
character.
it's all about the little things in life.
Whitey things, little cute little kids.
Okay. I like that color for her lips, but I definitely need to darken. When it comes to painting lips, for you guys who are curious, the upper lip is always darker than the bottom lip. The reason why is because your upper lip is angled kind of out, but also up at that angle. So it's going out as far as the top part of your lip. So because it's at that angle, most of the time the light does not actually hit it directly, whereas like it hits the bottom lip directly. So that's why usually, depending on your light, of course, because that could always change, the bottom lip is usually much brighter and lighter in value than your top lip. Now again, I am kind of just blocking in a single color for her upper lip and her bottom lip, and I will go back and add more of the colors, or like color variations, just to kind of give a variety to that. And the color I added to that kind of peachy coral that I had was the, for the upper lip, was the raw umber, because it has a nice like red tint to it. It definitely darkens the value. Where's that little filbert? Lips scare me. Listen, if lips are something that you really always hesitate to paint, the best way to kind of get that out of your, I guess, kind of head of being afraid to paint them is to sit down and paint 10 of them, one right after the other. Do it in your sketchbook so it's not precious. It doesn't, or even on a scrap, a little piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a final finished piece of work. It could just be the worst thing you've ever made, but that's okay. All you want to do is really just kind of focus on the values. So even if you start in just black and white, that's a really fun way of kind of attacking it from just the value standpoint. But yeah, that's the only way to kind of get rid of that kind of like lips scare me, because I used to be the same way about noses. I don't know why. It was just the hardest thing for me to do. And so yeah, I sat down and I just drew nose after nose after nose. And I just drew them. I didn't paint them. Just so I could kind of understand how the facets of the nose work and function.
I remember when I was in high school, my art teacher made us fill pages with facial features.
Yep.
I have nightmares of the eyes that I drew.
Eyes are hard, but again, if you just like sit down and just draw them over and over and over again, and it's really the best way to do it is to not sit there and go, I'm drawing an eye or I'm drawing a nose. I had this one teacher make me draw a face without a nose, mouth, or eyes. I had to draw everything in between. So I wasn't allowed to draw the actual eyes. I wasn't allowed to draw the actual nose. I had to focus on the forehead, the cheeks, right around the mouth, because there's a lot of facets in here where your skin is wrapping around your jaw, and it's really important to get those in order to make that mouth feel like it's sitting on their face correctly. But there's a lot of different things that you guys can do to kind of work on that, but the only way to do it is to just a lot of them. Paint or draw a lot of them over and over and over again. Practice. Practice makes improvement. V-O. V-O. FYI. Emily, I'm not sure what you mean. Alright. Let me get back in here. Same color on her nose.
When I was learning how to hand letter, one of the things that I saw was don't do it until you get it right. Do it till you can't get it wrong.
There you
And that's
go.
how
I like that.
I really liked that quote.
The
Also,
eyes
it was
are
really
easier.
intimidating, but
One flip and they look deformed. That is absolutely correct. Lips are, well, I mean, I'd say that's kind of accurate for any part of the face. Like, you can change one little brush stroke and all of a sudden it just does not look right, and you're gonna fight to get that drawing back, kind of a thing. And that's okay. Again, it's part of the process and part of understanding how the face kind of forms. And even now, like, I can paint a face realistically and I still have those moments, like I just did. Whoops. It's okay. It's okay if you mess up. It's totally a-okay. What's not okay is if you just don't try. That's the problem, you know? Inspirational rant over. Alright, so let me grab some of that Naples yellow. Kind of lighten it up again. Okay. Even though this is more in a shadow section, there is definitely still light hitting this side of her face. But it's not as intense as over here. Making sure I'm not missing any questions over there. Again, if you guys do have any questions about anything art related, it doesn't have to be specifically what I'm doing or even have to do with acrylics or anything. Just any questions you guys might have had in the past and just haven't asked. There are no dumb questions. Do need to warm her neck up just a bit because I think I made it a little too green. A little too. I think it got a little bit muddy, which is okay. I think if I get a little bit more the Naples yellow, that'll give me that light over here in the corner of her, kind of where the collarbone is starting to come out, like that dip you get right above it. That's getting hit with a lot of light. And if I use this Naples yellow mixed in, I think it'll give me that light sense without having that weird kind of fog that's on the photo. But now that I'm doing that, I am realizing that color needs to go into her face because that looks really warm yellow. This looks very pink, which is okay. I think I need a little bit more yellow up here to kind of combat that pink tone. Let me see. I think that shadow got a little dark, so I do a little bit of a glaze on top. It's better. Kind of pushes that shadow back a little bit. Yeah. It was very hard to work when I got paint on. I got a little drip of paint on her face and I tried to wipe it off, and now it's just got a little extra bloop of color on her, right on her cheek. It's okay. You have a question, hypothetically, cough, cough. You sign and paste data piece in watercolor with the wrong year. Okay. So, oh, thank you. The portrait looks good. I appreciate that, Paulo. All right. So when you work in watercolor, you have a couple of options depending on, it always depends on realistically what you got going on in the section that you've signed it. You have a couple options. First one is that, and I've done this specifically on extremely thick, very durable watercolor paper, and I'm talking like 300 pounds. So I've taken an X-Acto blade and kind of scratched at the area that I had signed and kind of obliterated the date or whatever it was that I didn't like, and I've kind of scratched it back out. But that is going to be fairly obvious because that's probably going to be the only area of your painting that does that. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is that you can, because you sign it with a waterproof pen, you can darken it and then sign on top of it with a white pen. That's another way of doing it. You'd have to just kind of figure out a way to kind of obliterate your signature, which might mean making it really dark. The only other way of doing it is just to leave it and then maybe use a pencil on the back and be like, whoops, and then date is actually this one, haha. But just be aware that if you're not going to darken that area and then sign on top of it with something that's brighter and lighter, yeah, it's probably going to be visible, especially if you or use a thicker marker, because I mean, I'm guessing you signed it 2020 and it's supposed to be 2021, and it's very hard to turn a 0 into a 1. Yeah. I would say either darken it and sign it with a brighter color, but like real dark. And even then, you don't have to make it like pitch black to get it to go away. I would say probably, yeah, that's gonna be your best bet. I'm sorry. I hope that's a good answer and what you were looking for.
Yeah.
All right, so quinacridone magenta, that raw umber. Warm that up a bit. Pretending I didn't notice, yes. Yeah, always an option. Just be like, I totally intended to do that. And then tell everybody that you did it just because you wanted to see if they noticed. Is that, oh, there's the pen, or the paintbrush that I'm looking for. So I had done a pretty harsh line of that pink, and I just took my filbert brush and kind of blended out the edge to where it doesn't look like a very rough pink line. But I'm probably going to have to do that a couple of more times up here. Although, yeah. I really need to paint in her eyes because it's...
You only got about 10 minutes left. So.
I know. I think I'm getting to the point where it's like... She gonna look a little sick if I don't. Alright, let's get those eyes. Whites of the eyes are not white, FYI, for everybody watching. So I'm going to use turquoise because I have turquoise on my palette and we are running out of time. And I'm going to make a blue. A very, very light turquoise that is very strong. Wow. Okay, so that turquoise is really strong. Hold on, let me get this off my brush. Just add a +1, yes. Back to the other background. When purchasing canvases, I feel like the gray gesso prime ones would be the best. I do like the ones that already come pre-tone. Is it? I don't know if you're talking about the Pro Tones, but the Pro Tones are the ones that do have multiple colors, and I believe gray is one of them, which is fantastic. If that's the one that you're talking about, I love them. Having a toned surface that I've already, like, I don't have to worry about toning it is just fantastic. That's, if you have to take out a couple steps from having to paint, I'm always for it. Practice in a notebook. What kind of paper is practicing but acts like a canvas? We do have canvas paper, which is similar. It is still paper, so just be aware that you're always going to have that one kind of, it's not canvas. If you're not working on canvas, you're still working on paper, and you need to be aware of the limitations of paper. Like if you add a bunch of water-based media on them, it's going to be...
You have canvas pads.
That's true. We do have canvas pads. I was going to say, that's probably what I would more suggest if you're used to working on canvas. And they're a lot more affordable. And it's easier for practicing because then it comes in like a pad of paper, but it's canvas. And it is primed.
Some,
I think I got water on this.
inexpensive panels, like the, I think Soho, is it Soho that makes some that are like canvas panels, but they're...
It's paper, isn't it?
No, it's actual canvas mounted on the panel.
They're like cut boards, is that what you're talking
Like,
about? The painting
I'm trying to
boards?
remember.
not the painting boards, there's...
Soho all media panels?
See that? Yeah, see that.
I was going to say that.
It's the texture. It's either it's...
They're wrapped.
Yeah, but it's canvas on the panel.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, let's go down and see.
Double prime cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty inexpensive, I think. For
Can you
canvas,
guys,
they're
I was going to say, can you guys put that, a link in that in the chat? For Brains and Spirituality. I love that name. But yeah,
I mean, they're pretty
those
inexpensive
are really...
for how many you get, and
January,
some of them are on super sale right now, so.
already experienced that month. I love it. Oh, Amanda.
It was a real moment for me.
Yep.
I just flipped to the next page of my calendar and I was like, wait.
Sorry, I hope my head is not kind of getting in the way here. I'm gonna come back and use this like funky green color. Again, 'cause this is what I have on my canvas right now. Alright, so I'm gonna try rush this. Nope, that's all dry.
It's amazing how much of a difference that makes.
What, the whites of the eyes?
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like a zombie anymore.
Zombie. Katie's gonna get us demonetized by singing the Cranberries.
It's less than 10 seconds. That's why I stopped.
Learn to
Actually.
paint. Learn paper, then you have to realize on canvas. Yeah, no. I would say if you want to learn to paint and that's something that like you really like to work on, set yourself up for the best possible outcome by using materials that are going to give you the best option. The reason why I say that is because if you get the materials that aren't quite suited for what you're trying to do, you're going to be fighting them the whole time, which is not fun. Sorry, I'm also trying to like paint and talk at the same time. So if you do want to practice on canvas, get canvas. Because the worst thing that you're going to do is get something that's just not going to work like canvas, and then you're going to be like, I don't like this process, it's not my jam. And then you're going to realize that maybe later on down the road that you actually really do like the process, it was just what you were using, you know?
And what are you painting on?
What am I painting on?
Yeah, is that one of the panels?
This is a Centurion Universal Primed Linen panel. Couldn't remember. So I mean, this is a panel. It's very thin. It's very affordable. They come in a pack of 3. Again, it is actually canvas, and this is great for either practicing or if you want to do a finished piece on this, you can. Just because it's one of those things that, I mean, you can frame this just like a regular canvas. So again, I'm trying to like rush through this, painting and talk at the same time.
You're fine. You're almost out of time, but I'll give you a few more minutes if you want to get to a good.
Yes, and I'm gonna actually have to like tilt this because that glare is making it hard for me to see the details of her eyes. All right. I mean, it's still nowhere near done, but it's getting closer. Canvas, paper, pads, much less pencil, yeah, and panels. Will I be working on this piece again? Probably not on this show or on the open studio. I mean, unless you guys want to see it, I guess that's always a possibility. I could just keep a painting in the works for you guys on here. So you guys tell me if you guys want me to, again, stop what I was doing and then we'll come back to this and continue the next time. Although, speaking of the next time, this is going to be the last open studio hours of this year. We are going to take a bit of a break just because, you know, the holidays are coming up and we're all going to be traveling around and not here. So we're not going to be coming back for any more of the Thursday shows here throughout December. Now, we are going to continue this in 2022. Now, the way that we're going to actually do it is going to be a little different. We are going to have it on the first and third Thursdays of every month. The reason why is because that is a lot easier for everyone to remember. So I will be the one hosting the first Thursday of every month, and then I believe Jamie is going to be the one who's going to be hosting the third Thursday of the month. Now that might change depending on if there's an emergency or, you know, if we need to switch one month because we have things that happen.
Or we have guests.
Or we have guests, yes. Or if I'm, you know, in October and I'm going to be not here because I'm going to be in France in my artist residency. So that month, you guys just need to go see me on hopefully the Cherries Live because that'll be fun. Yeah, if you guys want me to, and actually I guess I should definitely check this out. Oh, some spirituality. It would be nice to see how I create the hair. I can save this for the next time. It'll be in January though.
We can, if you want to work on it, we can just do a time lapse and put it in the group.
That's true.
Depending on, I don't know what your art schedule looks like.
My art schedule is pretty heavy, but this is not specifically meant for anything photography wise, so I could wait to do this. But yeah, like MJ Pete was literally just saying, we could do a time lapse and I can post the video that way, or I can just save this for you guys. Just pop in the chat whichever one you guys prefer, and then we will take a tally and I guess we'll figure out which one is the most preferred, or maybe I'll even do a poll on the Jerry's Live Facebook group. Yeah. So if you guys aren't part of the Jerry's Live Facebook group and you want to become part of it, you can. It's absolutely free. Anybody can join. Just make sure you do answer the one security question. The group page is called Jerry's Live Facebook page. I think is that the official title? And I think Katie's gonna pop the link in it in the chat below. But yeah, maybe I'll just I'll make a poll on there and then we'll see what you guys prefer. But yeah, this isn't specifically meant for anything really with photography, or it's not pressing that I finish this right now. So I can wait for January to finish this. If you guys want me to wait, I'm okay with that. But I would love to be able to paint this crazy curly hair on camera for you guys. I mean, it's I haven't decided how I'm gonna do it, so we'll see. But oh, Paulo, you are always a joy to have on here too. Thank you guys so much. I guess yeah, we're officially out of time. Let me get this water away from my electronics before I knock it over. But that was the Open Studio Hour, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, we are not going to be coming back for the rest of this month, but we will be back in January, first and third Thursday of every month. And I will see you first Thursday of January. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.